Hey everybody, Weasel here, and time for another podcast. Before we get started, I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Jamie, who's quickly become my close friend. Jamie, happy belated birthday, my friend. The big 1-9. Enjoy it while you can, because truth be told, the older you get, the faster it goes, so enjoy it. I will see you out on the boats, buddy. Now, let's get moving. I found a great little piece on Conservative Review, which is another one of my favorite mediums. By the way, are you guys and gals going to Conservative Review? Has anybody even heard of it? Well, if you haven't, crawl out of the box you're living in, get onto your computer, and go check it out. I mean, if you're dying to have some good quality ethical reporting, then Conservative Review is a place. So go to conservativereview.com. It definitely has my stamp of approval. They have great articles, great links to great articles. So yeah, get over there, get out of that box that you're living in, and start getting informed on current events today. So now I found a link in Conservative Review to an article by National Review, written by this gentleman right here, Andrew C. McCarthy. And Andrew, if you ever do make your way across this podcast, which I highly doubt, but if you do, thank you. We appreciate you. We love what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. All right, so anyways, let's get going. Title: Andrew McCabe seeks immunity for what? Question mark. Now, this one has got to be good. Here we go. We got this sleazeball on the front page again. Here we go. Now, for those of you who don't know, Andrew McCabe is the former deputy director of the FBI. He was Director Comey's right-hand man. Okay, so he was number two, and there's a picture of his ugly mug right there. Former FBI Director Andrew McCabe testifies before a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing on Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, that's FISA, in Washington, D.C. in June 7, 2017. So that's where this picture is from. All right, let's get going here. The Judiciary Committee shouldn't give it to him. We'll give him what? Okay, immunity. So is he actually requesting immunity? I don't know. I need to shut up and let's read the article. How about that? Sounds like a plan, right? Timing is everything in life. House Speaker Paul Ryan has decided to back Representative Trey Gowdy's foolish, that's a good word right there, foolish, let's go ahead and highlight that one, suggestion that there was nothing irregular about the FBI's use of an informant to investigate the Trump campaign. Let's clear this up really quick before we move any further. When Trey Gowdy says that there's nothing irregular, like it says right here, about an informant investigating the Trump campaign, it makes you lose your confidence in your representatives, doesn't it? I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I still like Representative Trey Gowdy. I still respect him, but I'm going to have to disagree with him on this one. Why? Well, let's think this through really quick. It's very simple. Never has an incumbent administration, or at least somebody from the FBI soup, under the current incumbent administration, here it is, informed or spied on a presidential campaign. A possible replacement for that administration. Never. So for you to come out and say there's nothing irregular about it, well, that just makes me want to give you a backhand now, doesn't it? So, Representative Gowdy, sit down and shut up. All right, anyways, let's move forward. Ironically, Andrew McCabe, the former deputy director who was deeply involved in the investigation, picked the same time to make it known that he will not testify before Congress unless he is granted immunity from prosecution. Now, why? Why would he want to be granted immunity from prosecution? This is key right here. This is why we're reading this. Why would he want the immunity? Let's find out. The Senate Judiciary Committee, to which McCabe's lawyer made the request, should tell him, quote, no thanks, end quote. So Andrew, the other Andrew, the author up here, Mr. McCarthy, is saying that the Senate Judiciary Committee, whom McCabe has to testify to, should tell him no to immunity. McCabe should be reminded that he is free to assert the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination if he believes truthful answers would put him in jeopardy, but there should be no immunity. That's a good point. He does have the right to plead the Fifth. That way he does not self-incriminate. And I love how the author, Mr. McCarthy, put it. If he believes truthful answers would put him in jeopardy. So it leads you to wonder, what is it that McCabe is hiding? I have a feeling we're going to find out in the next few paragraphs. Beside the Russian probe, McCabe oversaw the Clinton email investigation. Boom! Put the brakes on. There it is right there. Beside the Russian probe, McCabe oversaw the Clinton email investigation after being appointed deputy director in February 2016. That's what it is. So what does he know? What did he do? And what does he not want to tell everybody about? What does he not want to get caught up in a lie with regard to? That's the question, right? As the Bureau's #2 official, he had very broad supervisory responsibility over investigations nationally and globally. But his oversight of the Clinton case was much closer than usual for a deputy director because the FBI took the highly unusual step of running the investigation out of the headquarters. Now, they normally don't do that. Normally, they run them out of the field offices. So I wonder why they ran that out of the headquarters. The FBI generally avoids doing that for a variety of prudent reasons. Okay, here we go. Not least that its field offices across the country are removed from Washington's intense political environment. There it is. That's one very good point to point out, Mr. McCarthy. And by the way, have I said, Mr. McCarthy, thank you for the article. We really do appreciate it. You've done a wonderful job, and please, please, please keep doing what you're doing. Of course, that is just one of the countless ways in which Clinton investigation was given highly unusual treatment. I really love this lawyer because, or this lawyer. I really love this journalist because he's really pointing it out. Straight to the point, he's not beating around the bush. As we discussed back in April, McCabe has been referred by the Inspector General to the Justice Department and FBI for consideration of whether to prosecute him for making false statements to investigators. The false statements occurred during a probe of McCabe's leaking of sensitive investigative information to the media. The guy's a leaker, just like his former boss, Comey. They're leakers. That's what they are. Why were they leaking? Maybe because they were trying to help somebody's presidential campaign. The Wicked Witch from New York, maybe. Anyways, I digress. Let's move forward. Inspector General Michael Horowitz, 35... By the way, Michael Horowitz, he is the current Inspector General, and he's an Obama appointee. Now, we give him the benefit of the doubt, don't we? All right? Inspector General Michael Horowitz, 35-page report recounts the McCabe that McCabe gave misleading answers on 4 occasions when questioned about the leak, falsely claimed that his boss, then Director James Comey, knew about the approved McCabe leak, and to give himself cover, shamelessly chewed out the heads of New York and Washington field offices over the leak that McCabe himself had orchestrated. McCabe's lawyer, Michael Bromwich, now maintains that because of the criminal referral, there it is, because of the criminal referral, McCabe needs immunity if he is to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee about the Clintons' email case. This is a stark change of position for McCabe. Shortly before the publication of the IG's report, that's Inspector General, by the way, IG's report on his alleged false statements about his leak, McCabe penned an op-ed in the Washington Post. That's opposite the editorial page, by the way, for those of you who don't know. In it, he flatly denied the accusation of, quote, lack of candor, end quote, the label the FBI gives to agent misconduct that involves violating the deputy of honesty, particularly in dealing with the Bureau. McCabe asserted, here we go. This is what he put in there in the Washington Post. I did not knowingly mislead or lie to investigators. Right. Yeah, we totally believe you, buddy. Sure, let's go ahead and highlight that one. When asked about contacts with a reporter that were fully within my power to authorize as deputy director, and amid the chaos that surrounded me, first of all, did not matter. You see how he had to point out that it was fully within his power to authorize as deputy director. Has nothing to do with it. See, you see how they divert. They try and divert your attention from what's actually going on here. It had nothing to do with it, because the fact of the matter is that you lied about it. You lied. You misled. Period. End of story. It does not matter. There's no going back. Okay? And amid the chaos that surrounded me, I answered questions as completely and accurately as I could. And when I realized that some of my answers were not fully accurate or may have been misunderstood, I took the initiative to correct them. Bullshit. Did I say that out loud? Excuse me. Something in my throat. Bullshit. Oh, excuse me. Something in my throat, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. All right. At worst, I was not clear in my responses, and because what was going on around me may well have been confused and distracted. If McCabe had been candid with the Post's readers, then it is hard to understand how he can now, here we go, represent the truthful answers to the Judiciary Committee's questions could incriminate him. More likely, McCabe is trying to make himself non-prosecutable. Now, here's the law right here. In 1970, Congress enacted the statute that empowers lawmakers to grant immunity, Section 6005 of the Federal Penal Code. Essentially, if a two-thirds majority of the investigating committee approves, in this case, it's the Senate Judiciary Committee, if two-thirds of the majority of the investigating committee approves, immunity is granted. The Justice Department must get notice and can delay matters, but it cannot stop immunity grant if the committee is determined to proceed. So no matter what, if the investigating committee in the Senate decides to grant him immunity, there is nothing the Justice Department can do. Now, one could really argue the constitutionality of that, because what are you doing? You're taking power away from the judicial branch from doing its duty, its job, its entire purpose. Now, I'm not a constitutional attorney, so I probably need to just shut my mouth or trap on that one. I really don't know what I'm talking about, but that's just my opinion. Remember, it's always my opinion. They are taking that away from the Justice Department. So, though long accepted, congressional immunity is a constitutionality question. Thank you. What I just said. Though long accepted, congressional immunity is a constitutionally questionable concept. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I have not read this yet. So, hey, I'm just saying. All right. All right, let's highlight that just so we can come back to it. Criminal investigation and prosecution are executive functions, and they include decisions about whether to charge or to forfeit the power to charge in exchange for information that furthers other investigations and prosecutions. Are you hearing me on this? Pay attention. When Congress exercises this power, it undermines the Justice Department's ability to prosecute. Exactly. This whole paragraph probably should be highlighted. It is true that, on the surface, the statute provides only, quote, use immunity, end quote. Technically, this does not shield the witness from prosecution. It only prevents the immunized testimony from being used against the witness, either directly being presented against him at trial or indirectly as it leads to locate evidence that can be used to prosecute him. In partial effect, however, use immunity can easily become transactional and even blanket immunity. It is often difficult, if not impossible, to prove that evidence purportedly unrelated to the immunized testimony was not traceable to it in some way. Consequently, if the Justice Department tries to prosecute him, the immunized witness will argue that the case was based on the immunized testimony It is easier for the court to throw out such a case than try to sort out what is tainted and what is not. There it is right there. That's the answer. That's the reason why. This is the big problem of what Mr. McCarthy, the author, and by the way, Mr. McCarthy, I don't know if I've said this yet or not, but we thank you for the article. We really do appreciate you. We love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. But this is what Mr. McCarthy's pointing out. It is easier for the court to throw out such a case that has immunized testimony, than for them to sort through it all. So they'll throw it out. So what he's saying here is the reporter is telling us is no, absolutely unequivocally no. The Senate Judiciary Committee needs to tell him no immunity. Come in, take the fifth if you have to, but you're not getting immunity. Why? Because, well, just what he said here. It is easier for a court to throw out such a case than to try to sort out what is tainted and what is not. That's the whole key to this article right here. The Inspector General's report laid out what appears to be strong false statements case against McCabe, and that may be just the beginning. We are awaiting what is said to be the imminent IG report on the Clinton emails investigation, and the IG is also investigating the FBI's conduct in the Trump-Russia investigation. Boy, do we know that. And honestly, that should be out any day now. At least that's the scuttlebutt in Washington. Excuse me, my throat. That's the scuttlebutt in Washington, is that the Inspector General's report on that should be out soon. There has been a leak as well. There has been a leak regarding that report into the FBI's conduct in the Trump-Russia investigation. And somebody has leaked some of the information on it, but I believe it's hundreds of pages so far. That's going to be a heck of a report. So I'm anxious to see what happens. Really, to be honest with you, nothing can be done until that report comes out. So I'm really curious. We're going to cover it. Are we going to read all a couple hundred pages? No, but I'll get the talking points out of it. And I'll watch what everybody else is talking about as well, and we'll address it. So anyways, back on track here. We do not know if the IG will find any potentially criminal conduct in these investigations. Still, we can safely assume that McCabe hopes the Senate Judiciary Committee will grant him immunity so he can later contend that any effort to prosecute him is based on immunized testimony. So that's what he's going for. See, his attorney, I forgot the guy's name, is forward thinking here. Very smart. See, these people are smart. Very slick. They use all these technicalities, Oh, it's immunized testimony. You can't put me away. Just throw it out. Prosecutors do not like to grant immunity. It was liberally doled out in the Clinton email investigation that McCabe ran, but that was an aberration. I honestly, ladies and gentlemen, have no idea what that word is. Aberration. Oh, aberration. Duh. Having a moment. No, I'm not editing it out either. A reflection of the fact that there was no intention of charging Mrs. Clinton or anyone else with a crime. A more Shut up. A more normal and effective way to proceed is illustrated by Special Counsel Mueller's investigation. If the prosecutor has a viable false statements case against a witness, here we go. He makes the witness understand that he is prepared to indict the witness. Now, that causes cooperation. That's the whole point. You put the fear of God into him. Exactly. The witness quickly realizes that his best option is to plead guilty and cooperate, as several witnesses have in the Mueller probe. And they have. That's what Mueller did. He put pressure on these people. Like look at Flynn. He made a false statement. By the way, he didn't plead guilty to espionage. He did not plead guilty to colluding with the Russians or anything close to it. The guy made a false statement, so he pled guilty to that. Okay? Same thing with everybody else. Nobody has pled guilty or been charged or indicted with collusion or espionage. Even though the media would have you believe different. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Unless you've been listening to me. You didn't know that, huh? You thought these people were pleading guilty to colluding with Russians. That's the lamestream media for you. Anywho, I'm getting off topic again. Sorry about that. I'm famous for it. But yeah, several have in the Mueller probe, and that's what Mueller did. It's 101, you know. But the Senate could screw it all up and let this piece of garbage, Mr. McCabe, walk. Once this is done, if the witness proves to be dishonest, the cooperation agreement is torn up and the prosecutor can bring more charges and push for a more severe sentence. So they have that hanging over their head. So this is what the guy's saying. I don't even know if I need to read anymore. What Mr. McCarthy, the author, is pointing out here is if the Senate grants immunity, also known as immunized testimony, then the Justice Department can still prosecute. However, they can argue a defense that they are testifying it was immunized testimony, and therefore it's not going to hold up in court. And so a court very well may throw it out instead of trying to sift through all the garbage and try to pick and choose what's in there. They'll just throw it out. That's his argument here in this article. So what he's saying is, why not do what FBI 101 is, investigative 101. You just come at them, let them know that they're going to be indicted for whatever, in his case, for his leaks and his lying about it and his misleading testimony and this and that, and put the fear of God into Mr. McCabe and get him to cooperate and testify. And what he's saying right here, the last thing we read is, and if he is found to be dishonest and not cooperating properly like he agreed to, well, then you pull back whatever deal you had and you prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. You give him a more severe sentence. That's the whole point. So it'll be interesting to see what the Senate Judiciary Committee does. So, Mr. McCabe, I really do agree with you on this one. I really do. All right, let's go ahead and finish it. We only got 2 paragraphs left. The guilty plea arrangement, much more effectively than an immunity grant, provides a witness with a powerful incentive to cooperate fully. Exactly. So if you get them to plead guilty like Mr. Mueller has done, see, he needs to take a note from Mr. Mueller, is what they need to do. They need to take a note from Mr. Mueller. The Judiciary Committee should tell McCabe that if what he wrote in the Washington Post op-ed is true, then he need not worry about incriminating himself by answering the committee's questions. There is no reason to give him immunity at this point. Let McCabe come in and assert the Fifth Amendment privilege if that is what he chooses to do. Meanwhile, the committee should wait to see what the Justice Department does with the IG's false statement referral and what the IG says in the Clinton email report. Once McCabe realizes that the Judiciary Committee will not give him immunity and otherwise interfere with the Justice Department's ability to prosecute him, he will apt to become a more forthcoming witness. Well said, Mr. What did I just do? Whoops. Well said, Mr. McCarthy. Well said. That one definitely deserves a pretty color. Okay, so what do we know? Well, we know this slime ball, this scumbag right here, is facing prosecution. We don't know, though. We don't know if he's going to or not, because what they're going to do is they're going to most likely wait for the Inspector General's false statement referral to come out. What does he want to do? Now, if the Senate were to step in and give him, immunity for his testimony, then, like Mr. McCarthy's pointing out here, well, then we have a bunch of retards in the Senate. Obviously, they need to wait. So, and most likely they're going to. I mean, these people aren't stupid. They're really not. Although, we could point out a few times. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, we'll see what happens. That's the article for today, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know what you think. Comment, please, please, please do not click off of this podcast without commenting. Okay? Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of the article. Tell me I'm a wacko. Tell me I'm way off base. Tell me I need to learn how to read faster. Whatever. But please comment. It's the only way I'm going to make this podcast better. It's the only way. And I want to get people engaged because I want to bring people on to do the podcasts with me. So please comment, like, dislike, share. What's the other one? What is it? Subscribe. Yes. Subscribe if you want. If you don't want to, I don't care. It's all right. Doesn't even matter. I'm not going to stop either way. So that's all I got for today, ladies and gentlemen. This is Weasel saying good day.